My name is Eve. I'm 37, a mergers and acquisitions attorney who lives on the 50th floor of a sterile high-rise, where everything smells like burnt coffee and legal pads. People call me the fixer, the responsible one, the girl who keeps everything together no matter how much it costs her. And for 5 years, I had been the unpaid angel investor of the Madison Wellness brand. Not by choice, but because every time I tried to say no, my mother whispered, "Eve, sweetheart, you're the strong one. Your sister is sensitive." Translation: my money, my time, my life all belong to the family's favorite daughter. Until the day Madison publicly mocked the $420,000 condo I gifted her at her wedding. That's when everything changed. That's when I finally stopped being the family ATM and became the woman who took everything back. When Madison mocked my gift, the room erupted in polite, shocked laughter. People whispered, "Did she really say that? Is this part of the speech?" I sat down. Not angry, not hurt, just done. I had researched that condo for months, checked the foundation, the HOA, the long-term investment projections. I gave her security. And she tossed it aside because it didn't match her aesthetic. The switch didn't flip, it detonated. Then, when the music swelled and guests drifted to the dance floor, I tried to leave quietly. Almost made it. Until Madison, frosting smeared on her wrist like some deranged wedding bracelet, blocked my path. "Were you trying to embarrass me?" she hissed. Her eyes weren't hurt, they were furious. I stared at her. It was a gift. A gift? Eve, that neighborhood is a dump. It's off-brand. Did you even think about my clients? She said clients, like her soul-scented latte followers were a board of directors. Then our mother appeared, all pearls, polished smile, and poison. "Eve, darling, don't be rigid. Just sell it and help them buy something nicer. You know how Madison is." Her hand tightened on my arm. Her voice dropped. "Don't be selfish because your feelings are hurt." Selfish. Me. The family ATM. The human savings account. That was the line. The one that snapped the entire facade in half. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. Not as mom, but as the senior partner of a lifelong scam. Then I turned to Madison. My voice is flat, cold, legal. Keys to the Tesla now. Her confusion cracked into panic. "It's my wedding." "It's my car," I said. "Loans in my name, insurance in my name, registration in my name." I lifted my hand for the valet. She realized I wasn't negotiating. She was the debtor, I was the creditor. Her hands shook as she slapped the key fob into my palm. "You're cruel." "No," I said. "I'm clear." And I walked out. Tesla key in one hand, condo deed in the other. The morning after that disastrous dinner, I woke up to a phone buzzing nonstop. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, all from my mom, my sister, even my aunt, who somehow got involved overnight because my family spreads drama faster than breaking news. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone screen. Every message said the same thing in different fonts of guilt. "Call your mother," "Fix this," "You embarrassed us," "Mom is crying," "You need to apologize." Apologize for not letting them steal from me? I tossed my phone aside and walked into the kitchen, needing at least one moment of quiet. But peace never lasts long when your family is addicted to control. Not even 10 minutes passed before I heard the front door unlock. Not knock, unlock. My entire body froze. Only 2 people had keys. My parents. They walked in like they owned the place, like my home was an extension of their authority. My mom's heels clicked sharply across the wood floor, each step filled with purpose and disappointment. My dad followed, arms crossed, already rehearsing whatever lecture he had planned. I didn't even have time to breathe. "Sit," my mom commanded, pointing at the couch. I didn't move. Her chin lifted slightly, that signature look she used when she was seconds away from detonating. "It's my house," I said calmly. "You can't just walk in." She narrowed her eyes. "After everything we've done for you, you're really going to start keeping us out?" There it was, the classic family guilt weapon, the debt of gratitude, a currency they invented and expected me to pay with obedience. My dad stepped forward. "We didn't raise you to talk to us like this." I swallowed the frustration sitting in my throat. "Then maybe you shouldn't treat me like an ATM." My mom's eyes widened as if I had slapped her. "We paid for your wedding," she snapped, "and your way of thanking us is accusing us of being thieves?" I laughed, a single humorless breath. "You didn't pay for my wedding. You turned it into an investment you thought you'd collect on later." My mom stepped closer, lowering her voice as if talking to someone she considered less than. "You owe us," she whispered. "We gave you a beautiful life." "No, you gave me expectations wrapped as gifts, conditions disguised as love." She shook her head, disgusted. "You're delusional." My dad threw a folder onto the table, an invoice inside. "We want what's fair." "What's fair," I replied slowly, "is understanding that I don't owe you my income, my savings, my silence, or my loyalty." My mom's lips trembled, but not with sadness, with anger. "You're choosing money over your family," she said. "I'm choosing my life over emotional blackmail." Silence hit the room like a dropped plate. Then something happened that changed everything. My mom's expression snapped from anger to cold calculation. "If you walk away from us," she said, voice icy, "don't expect to be welcomed back." There it was, the ultimatum, the punishment for breaking the cycle. I felt my heartbeat slow, my fear dissolve, my voice steady. I'm not walking away from family. I'm walking away from people who think my love has a price. She stared at me, shocked that I wasn't folding like usual. My dad looked between us, his jaw tightening, realizing, maybe for the first time, that the daughter they controlled for years was gone. For good. Without another word, they turned and walked out the door. But my mom paused in the doorway, glancing back with a cold, final glare. "You'll regret this." And then the door closed. Soft. Quiet. But the message was loud. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the scared daughter. I was the one holding the boundary, and they couldn't stand it. For the next 2 days, my apartment felt too quiet. No surprise visits, no buzzing phone, no passive-aggressive voice notes from my sister, just silence, the kind that feels heavy, like it's preparing you for something. And I was right. On the third morning, an email popped up while I was making coffee. Subject line, "Final notice." From my mother. I stared at it for a long moment before opening it. Inside was a scanned letter, not typed, handwritten, like she wanted me to feel every guilt-dipped sentence. She always did that. When emotional manipulation needed extra flavor, she wrote things by hand. The letter was dramatic enough to win an Oscar. She wrote about sacrifice, family duty, how children should honor their parents, and the classic line, "You wouldn't be where you are if it weren't for us." As if my entire career, every late night, every achievement belonged to her. But the last paragraph, that's where the real message was hiding. "You will transfer the $36,000 by the end of this month. If not, we will pursue other methods." Other methods. The threat wasn't subtle. I closed the laptop slowly, letting the anger settle. Not explosive anger, quiet, controlled, the kind that sharpens you instead of blinding you. That's when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't my mom. It was my sister. Mom is serious. Just pay it. It's not worth the drama. I don't owe them money. You owe them respect. Respect isn't slavery. Stop trying to be the hero. Just do what they want. Just do what they want. That line defined my whole childhood, my whole 20s, my entire relationship with them. Not anymore. I was done folding to keep the peace, especially when I wasn't the one breaking it. I put my phone down, grabbed my hoodie, and walked out. I needed air, real, fresh, quiet air, somewhere my family's voices couldn't reach me. There was a small park a few blocks away, the kind that's mostly empty during weekdays. I sat on a bench, watching leaves fall in slow spirals, trying to breathe normally again. But peace never lasts long when your family doesn't respect boundaries. My phone rang. My dad. I almost ignored it, but a part of me still hoped, stupidly, that maybe he'd be the reasonable one, the calm one, the bridge. I answered. Hello? His voice came through immediately, cold and firm. We're giving you one last chance to do the right thing. I closed my eyes. The right thing, I said softly, is not letting you bully me into paying an invoice that shouldn't exist. His silence was worse than his anger. Then, with the voice of someone who had already decided I was wrong, he said, "We invested in your future. You're repaying that investment. End of discussion." It's not an investment if I never agreed to it. You're ungrateful. He snapped. Ungrateful. The word they used any time I didn't bend, bow, or break. That's not true, I said calmly. I'm just finally choosing myself. There was a pause, long enough that I could hear him breathing through clenched teeth. Then he said the line that broke something inside me completely. You're no longer part of this family if you can't fulfill your responsibilities. The words echoed, hit, twisted. For a moment, I didn't speak. I just let the sentence settle into the cold November air. Finally, I whispered, "Then I guess you've already made your choice." I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the realization that I had just crossed a point I couldn't uncross. My parents had threatened the one thing they thought would keep me obedient: family. But what they never understood was this. Family isn't the people who claim ownership of you. It's the people who don't punish you for having a spine. I stood from the bench, feeling something shift inside me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of losing them. I was scared of losing myself if I went back. And that fear, it was stronger than any guilt they could throw at me. I walked back home slowly, every step heavier than the last. My phone stayed silent the entire way. No texts, no missed calls. The storm had paused, not because it ended, but because it was gathering more wind. And I knew the next move would be theirs. When I finally reached my apartment, I saw it instantly. A thin white envelope taped to my door. My stomach tightened. I peeled it off and opened it right there in the hallway. Another letter, but not handwritten this time. Typed. Formal. Cold. Exactly the kind of tone my family used when they wanted to pretend they were reasonable adults. The letter said, "We have decided to proceed with a reimbursement request for your wedding expenses totaling $36,000
If you fail to comply, we will involve a mediator. You have until Friday.
A mediator. They weren't just threatening now, they were escalating. I stepped inside, locked the door behind me, and sank onto the couch. For a few minutes, I didn't move. I just stared at the letter, heart pounding, my breath too shallow, like the walls were closing in. Then something strange happened. I started laughing. Not because it was funny, it wasn't, but because it was absurd. I had spent years trying to be the good daughter, polite, flexible, understanding, the one who didn't fight back, the one who absorbed the disrespect quietly. And now here they were, treating me like a financial enemy, a negotiation, an invoice, a debt. And for what? A wedding they insisted on controlling? It was insane. But the more I laughed, the more that laughter turned into tears, real ones. Not because I owed them money, not because I was scared of some mediator, not even because they were threatening to cut me off again. I cried because I finally understood something completely, painfully clear. My parents didn't love me. They managed me. I wiped my face and grabbed my laptop, not to draft some emotional message, not to write a long explanation, but to protect myself. I opened a new document and titled it Wedding Expenses Truth, and I started writing down. Every time I said I didn't want a big wedding, every message where they overrode my choices, every receipt they handled, every vendor they booked, every decision they made without asking, every moment where I was just a prop, not a participant. I even added screenshots, because if they wanted to turn this into a negotiation, fine. I could build a case stronger than their narrative. Halfway through organizing everything, I got a text from an unknown number. We're disappointed in your behavior. Families shouldn't need legal communication. I stared at it. It wasn't my mom, not her writing style. Not my dad. He'd call, not text. My sister, of course. She always jumped in when she thought my parents were too emotional to argue effectively. I typed back, "Stop texting me from random numbers. I'm documenting everything for my own protection." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, she sent, "You're embarrassing us." I didn't respond, because that sentence told me everything I needed to know. They weren't upset about the money. They were upset that I wasn't letting them control me. I took a deep breath, stood up, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were swollen, my expression tired, but behind all that, I saw something new. Strength. Not loud strength, not flashy, quiet, grounded strength, the kind that comes from finally saying the truth without excuses. I whispered to myself, "This ends now." And I meant it. I didn't know what the mediator situation would look like. I didn't know if they'd actually push it further. I didn't know if cutting them out would be permanent. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I wasn't giving them a single dollar, not one. I wasn't funding their entitlement. I wasn't rewarding their manipulation. I wasn't playing their game anymore. For the first time in my life, I was ready to fight back. By Friday morning, I had a plan. Not a reckless plan, not an emotional one, a plan built with precision. Legal documentation, receipts, screenshots, timelines. I was no longer a daughter trying to please. I was a lawyer protecting myself from financial exploitation. First, I emailed my attorney. Subject line, "Wedding invoice, formal response required." Attached every single proof of my prior payments, conversations, and expenditures. Clear, unambiguous. Bullet points were necessary. Then I turned to my parents. A short email, professional, polite, firm. "I received your invoice. Per our prior communications, all expenses have been covered. Any further claims will be addressed through legal channels. Hit send. No guilt, no hesitation, just facts." Next, I blocked all unknown numbers, deleted duplicate threads in the group chat, stopped myself from checking social media. No need to see manufactured outrage.
I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat on the balcony, and breathed. For the first time in over a decade, the air felt lighter. Not because they'd agreed, not because the invoice would disappear, because I finally realized I don't need their approval. I don't need their gratitude. I don't need their validation. By evening, Madison texted. Short, sharp, defensive. You've gone too far. This isn't who we are as a family. I paused before replying. Paused, because for years I had responded instantly to every jab, every criticism, every passive-aggressive note. Not this time. I typed, "This is exactly who we are. You've been managing me financially for years. I'm reclaiming my agency. Good luck with your future decisions." Hit send. No emojis, no softening, just truth. And then silence. The family group chat remained muted. The texts stopped. Even my mother's desperate attempts to guilt me evaporated into nothing. I looked at the deed to the $420,000 condo sitting on my kitchen counter. I had decided to rent it out to someone who needed it, not my sister, and I did. Doctors, residents, hardworking young professionals. They sent me sunset photos, snapshots of quiet mornings, messages of gratitude. Finally, my generosity had impact, not manipulation. The Tesla sat in my garage. Occasionally, I'd drive it. It smelled faintly like Madison, a ghost of the past, but each drive, the scent faded, replaced with freedom. Just a car now. I archived my budget spreadsheet, renamed it Lessons Learned. I didn't delete it. Evidence stays, lawyers know that. But it was mine now, a monument of clarity and boundaries. On Sunday, 7 a.m., I poured my third cup of coffee, sat on my balcony overlooking the city. The air was crisp. The world moved below me. And for the first time in memory, my coffee was still hot. I closed my eyes, felt the sun warm my face, felt the weight of decades lift from my shoulders. I realized this story isn't just about a condo or a car or a wedding invoice. It's about boundaries. It's about agency. It's about finally understanding that no is a complete sentence. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the fixer, the provider, the invisible one, let this story reach you. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to reclaim your life. You are allowed to say no. I didn't just walk away from a wedding or a car or a spreadsheet. I walked away from a lifetime of expectation, from guilt, from manipulation. And I survived, thrived, and I finally lived for me. The sun rose higher. The coffee cooled slightly, but for the first time, I didn't mind. Because I wasn't carrying their burden anymore. I was free. Free from the guilt trips, free from the silent treatments, free from the way they expected me to sacrifice first, apologize first, bend first, free from the way my success became a threat instead of something to celebrate. My peace, the calm I found after finally standing my ground, made every manipulative tactic lose power. One by one, they tried. The emotional meltdown, the "we raised you" speech, the comparison to cousins, the "you've changed in a bad way" reverse blame strategy, but none of it worked anymore. Because once you set boundaries, once you protect your hard-earned life, your time and your energy, you don't go back. And yeah, I won't pretend it didn't hurt. It did. Losing closeness with the people you love always stings. But losing yourself hurts way more. So I learned something brutal but freeing. You can love your family and still keep them away from the parts of your life they don't deserve access to. Some people earn trust. Some people just expect it. And some people demand it without ever respecting it. That last category, yeah, I stopped entertaining them. When I look back now, I don't see chaos. I don't see betrayal. I don't even see the money drama. I see a turning point. The moment I stopped living on family autopilot and finally took the wheel of my own life. I learned that boundaries don't make you selfish, they make you sane. I learned that protecting your money isn't greed, it's survival. And I learned that when someone tries to steal what you earned, whether it's your savings, your peace, or your voice, you don't just defend it, you defend yourself. My family didn't expect me to fight back. They didn't expect me to think 10 steps ahead. They definitely didn't expect me to win. But you know what? I wasn't trying to beat them. I was trying to save the one person they kept treating like an ATM. Me. And if you're in a similar situation right now, maybe you've been there too. Maybe not with a condo, maybe not with a Tesla, but with people who think your life belongs to them more than it belongs to you. So hear this. Your success isn't community property. Your hard work isn't a group project. And your future isn't up for negotiation. I didn't lose my family. I just lost the version of them that relied on my silence. And honestly, that silence was never mine to give. Because the day I finally spoke up, the day I protected what I built, was the day my real life started. And I wouldn't change a damn thing.